Guys an idea of what this was going to be about when we talked about the beauty all around us. I feel like this time of year, especially in Chicagoland, is kind of a mixed bag when we think about, like, we're almost to spring, but it's like 50 some degrees. We still have piles of snow up and down our street, because we got like 3 or 4 inches earlier in the week. But like, I was up early again today, and the sun's rising a little earlier, so there's that kind of light is starting to come back, right? I feel like, and obviously we've got sunshine today, so there's something about this time of year that makes us kind of feel like appreciation flows a little bit easier. So my theme this whole month has really been this. I came across a quote from Jack Kerouac, and he says, "Everything is ecstasy inside. We just don't know it because of our thinking minds." And I think that's so true, right? So I'm just going to have you start in a seated position. We'll do a little bit of flowing while we're sitting after we kind of arrive. But I want you to just kind of feel what's around you, right? So kind of feeling the ground beneath you. You can even keep your eyes open. I know a lot of times when we start a class, like, close your eyes and go inside, but kind of look around, seeing the light streaming into your room, maybe how the shadows are forming on the walls or the ceiling or the floor. Maybe you've got pets around you, and just kind of really just allowing yourself to experience what's around you, right? When I first started this theme, I was thinking how I think we as yoga teachers probably take this a little bit for granted, that obviously where we put our awareness is what our experience is going to be. And so we're pretty good at sort of navigating, like, oh gosh, I'm really going down into this place where I don't want to go, so I'm going to, and not that we ignore the bad and things like that, but we don't need to create more drama around certain things, right? So just allowing ourselves, to kind of calculate our journey, right? And so that's what this is really about, is finding a way to allow the beauty to just land. So sitting for a moment and kind of taking in what's around you, and then we will go inward, because we don't need to constantly, stay open and exposed. So just now close your eyes. And then we're just going to breathe in for the count of 4. And then breathe out through the nose or mouth through the count of 6. Breathing in to the count of 4. And exhaling slowly to the count of 6. And we'll do that a few more times. And these longer exhales signal safety, helps us to downregulate our nervous system a little bit, but it also opens us up to greater contentment. And I feel like oftentimes we're kind of chasing joy or striving to change something or fix something. This practice is really designed to allow you to tap into that enoughness. This is enough. I am enough. This moment is enough. And you can even just pick one of those as a mantra if you'd like. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And then just take your arms out as if you're getting ready to hug someone, right? Just spread your arms out and then hug yourself. Wrap your arms around yourself, maybe even kind of draw inward a little bit. When you're ready, take an inhale and open those arms back out. Go in for another hug. This time, put the other arm on top. Give yourself a hug. And we'll open those arms back out. And then just let your hands come down onto the floor. You can rock back, uncross your legs, and maybe just put your feet on the floor a little wider than your hips and just do a few rounds of windshield wipers here, just kind of letting some of the tension melt out of the hips. I always think this is one of those things that I always tell my students, it's like, feels so good. Like if I just got up and left the room for a little while and came back, you'd still be doing this because it's like just feels so yummy. And then we'll work our way to all fours. So just when you're ready, you can take your legs out behind you, work your way into a tabletop position at the front of your mat, positioning your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. And you might even want to sway the hips a little bit here, like your thighs are the windshield wipers now. And as you work your way back to center, reconnect with that breath. And it can still be the 4-6 ratio or just a nice slow inhale and exhale. And the next time you inhale, just let your back sway, coming into a cow pose, maybe lifting the chest and the chin. And then as you exhale, round into your cat stretch. And just take some time to do these cats and cows, sort of appreciating how your spine moves. Appreciating the simple miracle of how your body can move with your breath. How your breath can set this nice pace. And the next time you inhale, just come back to a neutral spine. We're going to take the right arm out to the right and just lift it. Again, don't force anything, but just feel the body open up. And then as you exhale, you're going to thread your right arm under your left arm. Carefully lower your right shoulder and the temple on the right side of your head to the floor. Your left arm can extend forward. You could keep your left hand in front of your face. You could even swim your left arm around your back, either finding your right back pocket or your left or right hip crease. So as you come into this thread the needle, this is a pause, right? So just kind of feeling the sweetness of the compression of the shoulder on the floor, how your breath is still continuing to move in and out, and really just allowing yourself to feel unhurried or unrushed, savoring this time to just receive what's happening in this moment. Now you'll want to bring your left hand back down in front of your face so you can use that arm strength to lift. Push down into your left hand, lift your right shoulder and head off the floor. Let's go ahead and do a counter twist to the right again, just letting that right arm float out and up. And then we'll put the right hand back on the floor under the right shoulder. Get yourself set up to do the other side. So nice and slow, taking the left arm out to the left and up. As you exhale, you'll thread your left arm under your right arm, lowering your left shoulder and temple to the floor. Right hand could stay right there in front of the face. You could walk your right hand forward or swim your right arm around your back, either finding your left back pocket or left hip crease with your right hand. And then just take some time here to, again, savor the opportunity to pause, to feel unrushed, unhurried, to just appreciate the sweetness of this moment. Now bring your right hand back to the floor in front of your face, pushing down to lift up, circling that left arm out and up. And then bringing your left hand back under your left shoulder. Take a moment here to just get your hands set up. Again, we don't have to spread the fingers to their maximum width, but just kind of evenly spread the fingers. I'm trying to create some equalness between each finger. And then we'll stretch the right leg out behind us. Give that leg a nice little stretch back. Switch sides. Letting the left leg extend. And then keep your left leg extended as you extend into your right leg, coming into a plank pose just ever so briefly, kind of feeling the body's strength. We can always do this with the knees down, not quite under the hips, but slightly back, or knees up. And then from here, we're going to lift the hips, come into that upside down V shape as you soften the bend in your knees, extend through your arms. Try lifting your hips just a little bit higher, maybe even coming up onto your tippy toes. And then let your heels fall towards the ground. They probably won't touch, but just letting the legs extend, but not locking up the knees here. Take a couple breaths here in our downward facing dog. Experiencing maybe a different perspective of the room and the light and the color, the floor, even the ceiling, if you can see it from here. And then we'll go ahead and bring the knees back down onto the mat. Walking your hands towards your knees, you're going to come into a kneeling position. From here, we're just going to lunge the right foot up to the front of the mat. So we can start with our hands on that right knee. If we need to, we can always put one hand down to adjust the distance between the left knee and that right foot. I tend to like to have the knee right over the ankle. It just provides a little bit more stability. We're still drawing some energy in and up, so we're not just kind of doing the splits here. And then we'll work our arms up over the shoulders, taking that crescent lunge here, maybe softening your gaze slightly upward, not locking up the jaw. Just taking in your surroundings, as well as the sensations in the body. We'll go ahead and float the hands down. And we're going to rock it back into a half splits, rolling onto the right heel, drawing the hips back. In our half splits, we can stretch the back a little bit, right? So you could round like you're doing a cat stretch. But I want you to take a breath in and imagine doing cow pose while you're here, tipping your waistband down towards the floor. So we're going to find there's a lot of unfinished business in the back of our legs in the hamstring group. I like to remind myself that contentment is not just available once we finish a project or accomplish a task or make our way through our entire inbox, right? We can take moments of rest through the work in progress. So contentment is available even when there's unfinished business, like tight hamstrings, right? So we'll go ahead and shift forward, coming back into that low lunge. Lift your back knee off the floor, plant your hands, and just step back into your downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here. You might even notice how one side feels a little different than the other. Still want to try to have that anterior tilt to the pelvis, so your waistband's still kind of tipping towards the thighs. You can pedal it out or just find some stillness in your down dog for a breath or two. And then we'll come back down to our tabletop as you lower your knees back to the floor. Walk your hands back towards your knees. Come back to that kneeling position so you can lunge your left foot up to the front of the mat. Kind of get yourself set up. Again, if you need to take that right knee back a little bit or shorten the distance between the foot and knee, go ahead and do that. When you're ready, circle your arms forward and up, coming into that classic version of our Anjaneyasana, crescent lunge. We can always look up with a soft gaze or just keeping the gaze slightly forward. And just opening up to this experience here, how the body opens through the posture, through the breath. As you exhale, bring your hands to the floor. Rock it back into a half splits, rolling onto your left heel. We don't need to lock up the knee, right? So how extended our leg is doesn't determine the effectiveness of this stretch or pose, it really starts with the orientation of the pelvis. So again, we want to try to come into that little sway in the back. You can dip down a little lower, but again, just tipping the waistband down towards the floor is going to introduce you to all of this unfinished business in the hamstrings, or really all the quiet work that our hamstrings do throughout the day, right? And so we can find contentment, joy, santosha right here as we shift back into our low lunge. Lift your right knee off the floor. This time we're going to step up into a forward fold. So bring your right foot next to your left foot. Soften the bend in your knees. Hang your head. Take your forward fold, Uttanasana. We're still trying to distance the hips from the heels without locking up the knees. Finding your weight balanced in your feet. We're going to use our next inhale just to come up halfway. So even if you can find Ardha Uttanasana with your fingertips on the floor, I like bringing the hands to the shins and really just finding all this length and lift in the chest. Again, opening up to the experience of this shape, this moment, this breath. Take your exhale and go back into your forward fold. Then we're going to inhale and stand up, circling the arms, coming into that upward hand salute. As you exhale, bring your hands together into your heart. So I thought we'd do a little balance challenge since you're kind of talking about gardens and growing. We'll do tree pose. And I feel like tree is like a metaphor for joy. We kind of root down, right? We lift our hearts. And then we're gonna balance a little bit. So let's shift our weight to our right leg, and let's try to go like 70% of the way into our tree pose. So some of us might be able to like put our left foot up onto our right thigh and, you know, do all that. But let's just kind of take the 50%, 70% path. Put your foot on your shin, or maybe even have your big toe on the floor. Hands can stay at the heart, or maybe the branches are starting to expand. And then joy, contentment, is not because there's no wobble. Joy and contentment come because we're kind, even when there is wobble, right? So I feel like we have to embrace the wobbling, because this is where we're getting stronger and more resilient. This is where the growth is happening, in the wobble. This is where the beauty is. When you're ready, bring your hands back to your heart. Put your foot back on the floor. Feel free to wobble intentionally, right? There's no difference between this wobbling and the other wobbling. It's all good. All right, let's balance on that left side. So again, like a 70% tree, right? Maybe foot on the shin, maybe big toe on the floor, having your kickstand kind of lengthening up. So again, there's this rooting down. There's this lifting of the heart. There's the breath. If we grow branches or not, doesn't matter, right? If we wobble, it's okay. Joy is an absence of wobble. Joy is kindness amidst the wobble. Bring your hands back to your heart. Put your foot back on the floor. Feel free to rock it out a little bit. All right, if you reoriented yourself on your mat, switch back up to the front of your mat. We'll do a little vinyasa, kind of like a half sun salutation to bring us down. So we'll salute all the light and sunshine on our screens here by taking a deep breath in, and then a swan dive into our Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhaling halfway up. Exhaling to fold. Let's go ahead and inhale and step back into plank again. So shoulders are over the wrists. We're spiking our heels back. We can always put our knees down first if you'd like, or lower yourself slowly down onto your belly, chest, and chin. Bringing your arms down alongside the body with your palms down. Just rest your chin on the floor. Start by gently pushing your hips into the floor. Then lift your head and chest. Then float your hands off the floor. Gently try to pull your pinkies towards the center of your back. And again, we want to balance the effort and ease here, keeping your gaze softly down at the floor so you don't need to crank the chin up. And then if you want, you can start to lift your legs away from the floor. Lifting from the front of the thighs. Keep pushing the pubic bone down. 2 more breaths here for our locust pose, Shalambhasana. Good. When you exhale, lower down. Bend your elbows into a goalpost shape. I know it's basketball season now, but we'll do our goalpost. And then you'll come down onto your left cheek or ear. And rock your hips a little bit here, or even bend your knees and let your feet sway. And then we're going to put both feet back on the floor. Draw your right knee up towards your right elbow, coming into a gecko pose, and just feel the support beneath you here. So you're kind of making like that half frog shape. Just kind of resting, being held by the floor. We talked a little bit about how we grow and change and see the beauty all around us because of the support in our lives. So you might even kind of take on not just the support of the floor, but consider what else in your life is supportive right now. Good. Then go ahead and extend your right leg all the way back out onto the floor. Lift your head and come onto your right cheek or ear. Bring your left knee up towards your left elbow. Coming into that gecko shape again. And just feeling the support beneath you. Softening into that support. Allowing yourself to feel and experience what's here right now. And now go ahead and extend your left leg out onto the mat. When you lift your head off of the floor, carefully roll yourself over onto your back. And once you're on your back, go ahead and bring just your right knee in towards your chest. You can stretch your left leg out onto the mat. And then switch sides, bring your left knee in while you extend your right leg out. And now bring both knees in and let's come into a happy baby pose. Have a little playfulness here at the end. So you can either lift your heels away from your hips, bend your knees in a right angle and hold on to the backs of your thighs and roll around a little bit on your back. You could reach up for your ankles or your big toes with your peace fingers or hold the outer edges of your feet. There's all sorts of ways to play. And that's what this is, a little bit of unseriousness here at the end of our practice. Maybe even smiling, not like a forced smile, but just turning the corners of your mouth up. Maybe a giggle comes naturally. Working your way back to center, draw the knees back together. And when you put your feet on the floor, keep your knees bent and then just let the knees splay apart, snuggling the soles of the feet together here. If you'd like, you could rest one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. Once again, come back to that feeling of the floor, the ground supporting you, and all the other support that you have in your life. And appreciating the beauty all around you. And as we kind of close our practice today, I want you to just call to mind one thing from today that you're grateful for. Notice one thing about your body that you appreciate. And then what's one thing from this practice that felt satisfying? And as you emerge back into your day, you might just want to stretch your legs out to start out with. Wiggle your toes and your fingers. And then just take some time moving and stretching your body in other ways that feel pleasing. And when you're ready, you could alternate bringing your knees back in towards your chest, giving your legs a hug, eventually building up to a double knee hug. And then choose how you want to transition back upright, either rolling onto your side and taking a breath or two in a sideline child's pose, or rolling up to a seated position with one big motion. And then let's take some time to seal in this practice together. So as you draw your hands together in front of your heart, and just kind of draw your energies in for just a moment, bowing your head, but lifting your heart. And just a reminder that happiness, contentment, joy is not a constant, but it is the quiet recognition that this moment, imperfect and ordinary as it is alive and precious. And the more we practice noticing the beauty, the more beauty we'll experience. Namaste.